So I think what I can do now is to start on the LFS book. So let's get the browser up. Click that one there. And I'll just get all this configured. Did that actually start loading or not? Doesn't look like it. Or it's taking some time maybe. Okay, maybe it's taking some time. So I'm just going to position this as I usually do with the LFS book on the left in the browser and the terminal on the right. So just moving from left to right. And I'm not sure how big I can make this. There's nothing that actually tells me how many columns I've got. So there is a point, I think one of the tests fails if there's not 80 columns or so in the terminal. And also the kernel, the menu config won't run unless there's 80 columns in the terminal either. So I might have to reduce that screen a little bit, shrink it down, shrink the font down, possibly, but we'll leave it like that for the moment. On this side, let me get rid of the tabs here. And let's get a notes from scratch. Oops. I can spell it correctly. Okay, there is there. Let's make this a bit bigger. Notes from scratch, read online, and we'll just start going through the book. So, being as this is less of a tutorial about Linux from scratch per se, it's more about getting on the Raspberry Pi. I'm not going to provide as much commentary as I usually do on my Linux from scratch videos. I'll tend to just speak when it's absolutely necessary, rather than just rambling on, maybe unnecessarily. So let's go to the stable LFS system D, and there's the book, and I think we can jump straight in at host system requirements. Okay, so we need to run the scripts I've got here for starters, just to see what packages we need to install. Okay, so there's a few things there. There's Bison's missing, Gawk, M4, and TextInfo, and then the symlinks aren't working. So what we need to do here is to add in those. So we can do Bison, Gawk, M4, sorry, apt install even, and TextInfo. And also for later on, for building the kernel, because we're not going to be building the stock kernel as it instructed in the LFS book. We'll have to build the Raspberry Pi kernel because it's been modified, it's been configured correctly to work on Raspberry Pis. So we'll be following instructions for that. And I don't know if this is needed for the ordinary kernel, but certainly the Raspberry Pi kernel needs some development packages from libelf, so we'll install that now as well. Package is called libelf-dev. So you can see that pulls in a quite a few things. There's a few suggested packages here, but they're not needed. So I'll just wait for that to download and install. Okay, that's done. So let's rerun the script. Right, let's clear the screen there. And you can see all the packages have been found now, and all of the version numbers are correct. So that's good. The only thing is the SH is not pointing to bash. So what we'll do here is just do an lnsvf. We'll point bin bash to bin sh. So now if we rerun that script, you see that we've got an OK against every single line where the checks are. So we've now got the Raspberry Pi system in a state where it's prepared to build not only the Linux from Scratch book, but also to build the the Raspberry Pi kernel. In fact, as it stands, it's not ready, but in fact, libelf. Yes, I think we do need that still. Oh, do we now? No, don't think we do actually, because we'll be building the kernel inside Linux from Scratch. So maybe that libelf is not actually needed. Libelf -dev. Yeah, that might have been something left over from when I was testing the kernel. To prove that, I'm going to remove it. And if later do find that I need it, then I'll just reinstall it. Libelf dev. I'll just do an apt to remove in case there's anything left over from that. Yeah, it's just that one. Okay. So that's the LFS environment configured. And let's go on to creating the partitions. So one stipulation is that the first partition on the boot device has to be reserved for the boot files that the Raspberry Pi uses, the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus uses, and the location that partition's now changed. It used to be /boot, but now it's changed to /boot /firmware. So let's get the partitioning program up and create that first partition. So I'm going to create a partition of 500 megabytes, which is quite a reasonable size. It's probably much bigger than is absolutely necessary, but we've got plenty of space and it gives us room for future expansion. Now that defaults a type of Linux, but I need to change that to be Microsoft Basic. One thing I've got to do, it probably doesn't really matter on this, although you might want to follow what I'm going to do. Can I come out of that? Yeah. I'm actually going to, if I print the table up, you can see it's defaulted to a DOS/MBR type partitioning table. I'm actually going to set it to a GPT table by pressing G, and that now means that when I create the partition, which I'll have to create again because that wipes out the previous partition table, not only do I get the possibility of 128 partitions, it also means the naming of the partitions changes slightly. So that's now called Linux File System. I want to change that to be a Microsoft Basic Data, so it's number 11 I want to set that to. So that's a new partition I've created, a new boot partition, which will be formatted as a FAT32 and which will have the kernel files as well as the boot firmware the Raspberry Pi uses to start up. So next I'm going to create a swap partition, and I'll just create 1 GB will be sufficient. I need to change the type of that partition from Linux file system to, let's just take a look, 19 is Linux swap, so I put 19 in. As you can see, it's changed to Linux swap. And finally, I'll create the actual root partition with the rest of the disk space, and I don't need to change that type because it's defaulted to the correct partition. So that's my final layout. I'll write that to the disk, and then I'll create some file systems on those partitions. So I'll start with the root partition, format that as ext4. Okay, looks like I might need to did it do a block discard? Oh, I did do a discard of the blocks. Okay, it's taking some time, that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the swap, the boot partition. So this time the type is VFAT, VFAT is the file system, and also I want it to be the 32-bit VFAT as well, so I need to put that switch. Right, maybe I don't need to specify that, maybe that does it. Oh, I know what it is. I normally do .vfats like this. So maybe the type for a 32-bit VFAT is VFAT32. I'm not sure. I never use that format, so I'll just stick with what I know. So that's formatted that as 32-bit FAT file system on the partition. And lastly, I'll create the swap partition or create a signature on it. So this is on the second partition. And press enter, and those are all the partitions that have been formatted or prepared with the appropriate signatures or file systems on them. So now let's export the LFS variable that we'll be using for the first part of the build. Ensure the UMask is set to an appropriate value, and just double check that those values look sane, and they do, so that's fine. So now we're going to mount the new partition. It's going to make a partition and mount it. So this is the new, what will be the root partition of the LFS file system. NVMe N0NP3. And 1P3. And then we need to change the ownership of that and the permissions as well. And finally, activate the swap partition, which is unlikely to be needed to be used, but it will be there if it is needed. P2. Okay.